Hello and welcome to the Lina Knits podcast. This is my podcast about knitting, and I'm Lina and I'm coming to you from my home in Helsinki, Finland. I'm a knitwear designer and tech editor and otherwise help woolly fiber folk, but most of all I'm a knitter, and that's what my podcast is about. You can find me most places on the internet as Lina Knits, which is also the address to my website, linaknits.com. You can find all of my information below and also on a slide at the end of this episode. So this is episode 52, and today is February the 8th. I've been really quite monogamous in my knitting, so there's not too many webs to go through. Again, I don't have any FOs. I really don't know how that happens, that I never finish anything. I just start new things. It's been a trend lately and I'm not happy with it, but we'll see when it changes. I'm trying not to pressure myself. One thing that I've had as my on-the-go knitting, so as the knitting that I do if I'm waiting at a doctor's office or sitting on a bus or at a cafe with a friend, has been my Get Cozy socks. So I'm knitting my own pattern again. I've finished with the first sock and have done the ribbing on the second. Now, as you see, this is a really quick pattern and I just haven't had that much time to work on it. So it's progressing nicely though. I was completely thinking of other things when I was doing the toe, and I did the Kitchener stitch the wrong way around. So instead of a nice knitted invisible seam, I now have a row of purl stitches there. It doesn't matter. These are for me and to wear around the house, and I really want to finish these as these were meant to be winter socks for my cold feet, and now is the time to wear them. It's really properly winter. There's lots of snow and it's cold, so I want to finish these. I guess I need to go somewhere more often to have the time to work on these. The yarn looks like this, and it is by No Makers. Here. It is their Bedazzled Gnome, a DK base, and the colorway is called Winter Wonderland. So this has 75% superwash merino and 20% nylon, 5% sparkle power, and it really is sparkly. The sparkle is very subtle, but it's all over. I don't know if the sparkle is showing up on the camera, but they really do shine and glitter. But yeah, so it's a sock, reinforced sock yarn, so it does have that strength to you could wear these. This is like your fingering weight sock yarn, but in a TK form. I think the yarn is a bit busier than I would like. It didn't appear to be so on the skein form, which is what I saw when I ordered it. But luckily the pattern is not a busy pattern, so it works well. And I'm knitting this using 3mm seams. All right, and it's living in my homemade Japanese knot bag. My mom once gave me a bag that she bought at a craft market or somewhere that had this construction, and I quite liked it for a project bag, so I've made a few of these over the years, not recently. then the thing that I've mostly been working on has been my Wintersol sweater. Wintersol. I know it's a Swedish name, but whenever I say it out loud, it sounds like I'm trying to say something else that I am. Wintersol, 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 something like that. So this is how much I've done on it. The thing with this is that you start knitting it from the bottom of the yoke, so right here, before you separate for the sleeves and the body. So when you're knitting on it, it feels huge. It still does, but now that I've got quite a bit of it done, and I can try it on, I see that it's really not. It's supposed to have a bit of ease. So, and I dropped my stitch marker. So it does have that. It's not too snug, but it won't be too huge. I'm done now with the color work chart, and now I just need to work some more rows on the yoke to get the color band done. So, but that's where I am. I really enjoyed knitting the color work. It was mostly 2 color rows. There were the odd 3 color row and some longer floats like here, but mostly it was just easy knitting. And this, I can show you, this is what mine looks like on the other end. So when I knit color work, I just keep my yarn on one hand, on one finger. So I knit continental, and this is how I have my yarn. So where that, I know it's the wrong way for you, but this is how I have them, and then I just knit from that strand or from that strand. And if I need to, you can't see anything, and if I need to catch a float, then I just go under and the next one again from the other side. Anyway, I know it, if I would learn this method where I have knitting one strand in the US style and one in the continental style, that would eventually maybe make it even more easier to knit color work. But my method is easy enough for me, and I've tried using those rings that help you guide the yarn, but they just never sit at the right place for me, and then it's the yarns are in an awkward place, and that slows me down. And I know it's just getting used to something new always takes time, and I should just do it, but I guess the problem is I don't really feel the need to. Yeah, this is just so pretty. I could look at it all day. Let me get the stitch marker that I dropped. Yeah, let's pop that back in there and take one stitch from the row so it's not there on its own. Right, and I'm knitting this using 4mm needles, and I'm now down to the 80 centimeter length, and I think I soon need to switch to this one to get to the top. Right, and the yarn that I'm using is the Rerum Natura's Gilead or Gilead. Here's one of the bands. So this is 100% wool. All of this is in French because this is made in France. It has 250 meters in 100 gram. So it's worth that weight. And this has, and this is what it says. It tells you where the wool comes from. So the wool is from France and Portugal. And I actually am really happy to say that it has Merino's Darl, which is in Provence, France, which is where I was last summer, so yay for that. Oh, and that was the band for my main color, which is called Seal. So sort of heathered sky blue, and then my contrast colors are these two browns, or beige natural white, which is called Poivre Blanc, and then I have a brown, a very soft brown, which is called Poivre. I hope I got those right. I do have all the tags here. Yeah, Poivre Blanc and Poivre, and then they have numbers, but I don't know if the numbers refer to just the color or also the lot. And yeah, so this is something that I'm knitting together with Maria of the Tuscan Knits podcast. We are both knitting the same pattern. She's using her own Tuscan Knits yarn, and it's just absolutely stunning. We are knitting these to have them finished in time for Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is coming up this March. And we know the festival place is going to be too hot to wear these, most likely. It was last year, but around town and around the countryside, because we are taking some time to just chill after the festival. Right. Oh, and in case you were wondering about this, I got just tired of all the yarn ends. Since this has a provisional cast on, it has even more yarn ends. So I just braided them so that they're not tangling up all the time. Right. And speaking of EYF, I still don't have any I still don't want to say any firm dates and times of where you can find me, but most likely I will be at the festival area and at the Blacker Yarns podcast lounge on Thursday and on Friday during the podcast Meet the Podcaster time. If you see me there and you want to come and say hi, just please do. I would love to meet you. Okay. Now that I got onto Blacker and the podcast lounge, I wanted to mention the Blacker Podcal, the knit along that Blacker Yarns and the Knit British podcast, Louise of the Knit British podcast, are hosting for EYF. But even if you're not coming, you can still participate in the CAL. They have all the information up on the Edinburgh Yarn Festival website and also on the Blacker Yarns Ravelry group. I will try to remember to link them below. So, the idea of the knit along is to knit something with Blacker yarns. Any pattern, any yarn, as long as it's Blacker. So, if you remember back in, I can't even remember when it was, when Blacker had their birthday, they always come up with a special yarn for it. And this year it was brushwork. And I got 2 skeins of it. And what I wanted to do was to knit, or with the idea of knitting leg warmers for myself out of it. Well, I haven't gotten around to that yet. I have now cast on. But first, I think we need to address this. I think I've mentioned a few times that I put the yarn that I get or buy, yarn that enters my home, I put it in the oven at 100 degrees or slightly less for an hour, just to make sure no bugs get in with the yarn. Well, what happened is I left the yarn in the oven to cool down and forgot that it was there. And my partner went to make dinner, turned on the oven, didn't look inside. Why would he? I mean, just turn on the oven and start cooking. And then we smelled something burning, and it was my yarn. I haven't done anything with this yet, but I do have the other one that I cast on. Now, burned wool, well, it doesn't work anymore. It just snaps. This one is only partially burned, so it doesn't snap anymore. But I think probably about 10 grams of this each skein was singed so badly that it just, when I pulled on it even slightly, it just snapped. So I got all of that out. Here you can see how it snaps, just like that. Just yeah. So I'm still left with the odd bit of burned yarn, but if I take all of this out, I will have nothing left to knit with. So these are for me. I didn't use any pattern. I couldn't find a pattern that I wanted to do, so I just decided to make one up as I go along. And I actually now have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do, but this one is not looking pretty. It let's just say that this kind of speckling isn't pretty. It just looks really odd. Also, this yarn is not the most springiest, even if you don't burn it. It's not this. It does have some spring to it, but it's really lofty, and I think this would be really pretty in a shawl or doing color work with this. But lace and yeah. Anyway, so I'm knitting these. Now that I know what I want to do, I quite like the idea, and it will eventually become a pattern, probably sometime next autumn, so not in the near future. So I'm just treating these as my really large swatch, because I do need leg warmers, and I only have that 2 skeins, well, now less than 2 balls, and each of these were 50 grams. So less than about 80 grams of yarn, so there's not that much that I can do with that. So I'm just going to knit myself leg warmers. I'm gonna fudge with the pattern as much as I went. The end result probably won't be anything I'm happy to share, but I will share. You will see what they look like, and then I will find yarn that's not burned and knit the sample and write the pattern. I'm thinking this will be a pair that doesn't have any increases or decreases, so it's the same width throughout. So this is something that will fit around the cuff. It does look quite large actually right now, but it doesn't matter. It's a test version. So usually when I design something, I have an idea. I do sketches and plan out the stitches, and then I knit a ton of swatches. Well, not a ton of swatches, usually just a one very, very large swatch where I play around with the stitches. But now I just cast on for this leg warmer, because my idea was to knit myself a pair of leg warmers and not write up a pattern. So I won't talk more about the leg warmers that might not even turn out to be leg warmers. I might just rip this off and just take all of the burned pieces off and use what I have left for a very short pair of fingerless mitts. I might do that, because I don't think this just really, I'm not happy with this. Anyway, more about the yarn, because it really is quite interesting. It is 80% new wool and 20% alpaca, and the wool that they've used for this is Beaumont and Castle Milk Mored. They are rare sheep breeds in the UK. So they've mixed that with alpaca, and this is sport weight. It has 152 meters in 165 yards. And this is woolen spun, so that's also why it's not very springy. And it's for their 12th birthday. So I was thinking yesterday and this morning that I'm just gonna go ahead and do the leg warmers, because I really do want leg warmers. But now that I'm looking at this in the daylight and talking about this, I don't know. Should I do this? Should I just do the leg warmers with this, despite how it looks with the burnt bits? Or should I just rip it back and just use what little I have left of the yarn to knit short mitts and do the leg warmers with something else? I really wanted to use this yarn now, so I wanted to participate in the Blacker Podcal. I really don't know what to do. And I think this is again something that I should make up my mind on pretty soon, before winter is over and before the podcast or the podcal is over. And the cast off date when you need to finish your item is just before Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so 12th of March, I believe. Right, so that's been quite a lot of embarrassing bits to share with you, with the odd Kitchener toe and then the burnt yarn and trying to knit with it. Oh no. Anyway, I have one more slightly embarrassing whip to share with you. It's this. So I started another scrappy crochet project, but this one is for just any leftover yarns. So far I've had thicker yarns, so Aran weight yarns and worsted weight yarns, but I fully intend to hold fingering weight doubled or tripled and continue this. And this will be the width, and then I will have it twice as long, fold it over so that it's sort of doubled up the fabric, and that'll be my my butt warmer. I don't really know what to call it. My seat cushion. That'll be my seat cushion. When it's not winter, I like to have a tea break in the afternoon where I go sit outside, just to get some fresh air and get myself away from the computer. But then I sat on the stairs that lead to our yard. But the stairs, even though they're wooden, they can still be pretty cold in the autumn. So instead of having to just take a shawl or a pillow from the couch to sit on, I think I'd like to have a dedicated coverlet to sit on. So that's what I'm doing. I'm really just putting in a few stitches each day. I started this a while back, I think like 3 weeks ago. So there's been one podcast episode between starting this and now, but I didn't want to, there was really nothing that much, there wasn't much to show before. Oh, and you can see that I'm using what I had left over from this shirt here, and I still got a bit more here, but I didn't want to have a too large color block there. Yeah, and I'm doing it in crochet because it's less stretchy and more durable, and the yarn gets used up quickly. Or quicker. I'm not really I don't crochet much, so I'm not really that fast at it. And the hook that I'm using is this. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's a 6mm hook. I know that in the US and probably in the UK you have numbers for it, or not numbers, letters, so I don't really know what this is. But I like to use wooden needles. I think this is bamboo. It just feels nicer in my hand than plastic or metallic ones. So, and I just had it. I don't really have a hook stash, just because I don't do it that often. So this is maybe not the best. I don't even know if this is the right size for the project necessarily, but I'm going with it. So that's really everything I have for you this week. I've been pretty monogamous with the Winter Soul sweater, which is by Jennifer Steingass. I know I forgot to mention her name. I'm really excited to have that finished, and I'm really enjoying knitting on it. So expect to see a lot of progress on it in the next episode as well. Hopefully I will also have finished a pair of socks and the leg warmers / mitts. Who knows what I will do with it. Come and find me on Instagram and join the Ravelry group, and I will see you soon again. Happy knitting. Bye.